Welcome to our Journey On Conversations. This is a monthly webcast where we talk with leaders and members of Fayetteville First Baptist Church and beyond about what it means to pursue a cross-centered life. I'm Laura Thomas, and this is Mickie Smith, and we are the leaders of our Women by Design ministry here at Fayetteville First Baptist Church. Women by Design is part of our women's ministry. Women's ministry is twofold. We have Women by Design, who our purpose is to disciple women of all ages in our community through sound biblical teaching, encouragement, support, and fellowship. And we have the WMU, which Ms. Ruth Gellerstedt leads, and she had one of these Journey On conversations earlier. So if you haven't seen it, go catch it and watch it. And we see women's ministry as a twofold event. One that is a breathing out and a breathing in process. You breathe in biblical study and fellowship and spiritual growth, and you breathe out service. And if you do one, then you're bloated. If you only do the other, you're anemic. And a strong spiritual, as you're growing in your spiritual walk, you got to be balanced, right? You can't just serve all the time. You can't just sit and listen to the Bible studies all the time. It's a partnership. And so Women by Design is the disciple. We do have service and discipleship and biblical studies and activities. And so I'm going to let Mickie tell you for just a minute what our vision right now of women's ministry at FFBC is.
Yeah, so just like Laura said, we're really trying to kind of bridge the gap between serving and discipleship. And Women by Design just offers, we try to really offer for every generation, bridging the gap for every generation, trying to offer anything that would enhance that growth, and meaning Bible study or fellowships. We call them sister socials, or our big events. We have one every year. Typically we'll do something in-house, and then we'll do something else, ladies retreats, different things. But the vision for us would just be bridging that gap of all ages, all the generations, bringing them together, helping each other, loving each other, and serving with each other.
And one of the ways that we have served at Fayetteville First Baptist Church since 2013 is with Spark Ministry out of Dallas, Texas. And so today we are so excited because we are seeing them for the first time live for over a year because of all the shutdowns. We have the exec board from Spark Ministry. We have Kristen McCaslin. We have Molly Breitenfeld. And we have Patricia Wyman. So, so ladies, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, since I'm the oldest one here, I will start the conversation. I'm Molly Breitenfeld, and I have the honor of being the founder of Spark Ministry. God put this in my heart about, well, we're 14 years old, so almost 16 years old, a way to serve women that was a little different than the normal. And he laid Spark Ministry on my heart, but soon it expanded to share with many women that helped grow it and form it and make it into where we are today. One is right here beside me, Patricia Wyman. She's been with Spark and as a partner in this ministry from almost the very, very beginning. But so I had the honor of being a part of that and growing it, but it's taken a big team all along these years. Currently, I'm co-executive creative director with Patricia, and we are very excited to be able to take Spark into the next level of whatever God's calling us to do. So I'm excited to be able to continue to talk about Spark, to share about Spark, to lead in Spark, to be creative in Spark, to inspire others to be a part. And so that's me. What else do you want to know? That's my Spark role.
Well, tell us what, if you had to describe, and any of y'all can do this, what is Spark? So I'm trying to tell somebody what is, I went on a Spark trip and they say, well, what is Spark? Tell us what it is.
Well, SPARK is a lot. SPARK stands for Serving People and Reflecting Kindness. And what that is what we do in our ministry. We're a nonprofit ministry, a non-denominational ministry with women serving women. And everything we do is centered around SBARK, our 5 core values of faith, kindness, excellence, inclusion, and fun. And everything we do is part of that. We want you to hear more in a little bit about more specifics about what we do, but SPARK was created to initially go out and serve women in faith-based ministries and homeless shelters that are in recovery program from addictions, from life problems, from abandonment, abuse, you name it, and go to their home where they reside, where they're in program, and give them a weekend retreat. And one that is different than anything they've ever experienced, one that brings life, joy, color, unconditional love, lots of fun, dancing, but all centered around. That's what SPARK is. And that's what SPARK was. It still is. But as you guys know, a little bit. And so we are still excited about what God has for us in some of the old things we've done, and we're looking forward to getting back on the road to serve, but new things as well.
Okay.
Patricia, what has God done in and through SPARK in the past 10 years?
Wow, we're thinking about that. And again, we're 14 years old. So those first 4 years were so foundational, but in the last 10 years, he's abundantly blessed and grown our ministry. What started as a idea and really in this Plano, Dallas area has grown to nationwide. And we've served missions all over the country from coast to coast, border to border. We have volunteers that serve from everywhere, including Hawaii. And who knew that God was going to take and form not only this team, but the sisterhood and the friendships that go so far beyond. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it, that we could have never expected the relationships, not only with the missions and the ladies that we serve, but with the volunteers that we serve with. And I love how God works, and he has definitely worked in that way of just exponentially just blessing us above and beyond in that way in the last 10 years. But also with our office, I mean, we're sitting in our worldwide headquarters. We used to work out of a storage unit, like a 10 by 20 storage unit or smaller. And now we have a warehouse and a meeting space and an office where we get to gather and just decide what's next and let God pour into us. And we all need a home base, and this is our home base, and we love it.
I know I was thinking about what you just said, and there's so many. I think of all the trips that I've been on, and over the past year, we haven't been able to go on trips, but yet I have all these sisters like everywhere, and right now when I'm fixing to take my last child to college, I have all these people that are checking on me, and Jim's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, it's one of my SPARK sisters, and they're, they're doing the same thing. And so we've been talking. And so I think that's one of the biggest blessings is all the friendships and the prayer support from all over, just from going on one trip, and how you get associated with so many people.
SPARK is definitely a family. It expands out to the women that go on the trips, and it's just incredible. We never dreamed that would be such a vital part of the ministry. That was not a part of the initial thought. The initial thought is we'll go and serve and give, but what we didn't realize is that in serving together, just like you said, there's a bond that forms that you can't really put words on it, but it's there and it stays, and it's just incredible. It's just a blessing God has given all of us that was totally unexpected.
So I know that we're going to talk in a few minutes about some other things that are happening, But maybe Kristen can tell us, like the average person doesn't know, they just see our fun party pics. Tell what goes into planning a Spark mission trip.
Oh,
Wow.
how much time do you have?
Yeah. How do you wrap that down into a bullet point?
I think that, one of the challenges of Spark Ministry is being able to show the power of what goes on in the course of a weekend, because it is very colorful and fun, and there's a lot of laughter and joy. But you have to realize we walk into homeless shelters where people are really at the lowest point of their lives and have experienced devastation that some of us can't even imagine. And we are walking in with a message of hope, a message of kindness, of joy, of dignity. And so, yes, what goes into planning a Spark weekend is everything from the food, the decorations, but the power of it, I think, comes in the personal testimonies, in the biblical teaching, and the times together of praise and worship, and of those small groups when you get to sit face to face with women and just begin to open up your life and your story. And as we begin to share very vulnerably about what God's done in our lives and the power that we've experienced, then they begin to go, well, if he can do that for you, maybe he can do that for me. And so over the course of 3 or 4 days, it's always so fun to watch a transformation that happens. We come in high energy and woohoo and all kinds of, lots of energy and things going on. And it's fun to watch some of the women come in a little timid, like, what is going on? These ladies might be crazy. Let's be careful, And I love that when we leave, often they're the ones forming the line to cheer us out. And they're the ones dancing in and excited to be there, and the way that their faces and their whole countenance changes as they begin to experience that love and kindness and that hope that comes from a Spark weekend.
Yeah, I've actually had the privilege. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patty.
No, I was just going to say, I think you said what goes into planning it, which I'm going to let this one talk about that. Because she is our programming director. And,
Yes.
and so back up. She always likes to go backwards in planning, but go back up to what kind of, how does a trip get started?
I know. For those of you that have not joined us before, this is a process that is done well. We back 6 months out of it, at least, and start contacting the mission and the directors, and those relationships form. We go on a pre-trip. Every trip that we go on, we have seen and been there before. The volunteers have, so that we know exactly what to expect and where outlets are for the inflatable bounce houses, or where our sound system can go, or do they have screens, or how many round tables do they have, and how many chairs are in the mission, so that we know that everyone has a seat at the table. And when we get there, we want one, to bring love and kindness, but we want them to relax. And just like we all need a weekend away sometimes, this is their weekend away. It's just brought to them. And so it starts way back, and then it just keeps fine tuning itself everywhere, from one of the greatest things that Fayetteville has helped us with before, from transportation and buses to the volunteers themselves. Just, it all starts coming together. We have team leads. We have a food team lead and a decorations lead and a gals team for the gals. Shout out to Minion Nation. We have gifts team. We have, of course, a ministry team with leading worship and a session in itself, and then testimonies and cardboard testimonies. So it takes all of us. We really do bring the structure to the table, and then our volunteers fill that in, and it makes each and every trip different, each and every trip special. It's not just the mission and where we're going, but we can even have gone back to, like in Orlando, that we've served 6-7 times now, and each one is different. Each one has its special, unique part in Spark Ministry, because God has brought all of those people together at that perfect time for whatever is needed, whether that's healing or laughter or joy, or save, or being saved. I mean, we've seen people saved on these trips. So again, it is a privilege. I'm so glad that God has helped me find my purpose in this ministry and just in programming and laying it all out. But as again, we come out and we do things with excellence, and we do it well, and we're very confident in that. But that's because God has given us amazing gifts and talents that he allows us to use in this way.
From the very
Well, and I think that's,
Oh,
well, I was going to say, I think that's one of the
I'm so
reasons.
sorry, Laura.
I think that's one of the reasons why, I mean, I remember y'all saying that from the beginning, you know, that we can just go in and do something.
Right.
And I think that's what the ladies on the mission expect. Oh, it's just another group coming in. But because of that high bar and that deep attention to detail and excellence, I think that's one of the ways that God blesses it, because I think that makes such a difference. And I know that has spilled everything to my job. I mean, how I do things, even in playing things. It's like, oh, we could just do that. No, we're going to do this up here because we can do it. So, sorry, Molly, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to expound on that a little bit. Is that we have a saying around here that we don't do weak and spark, and we don't do weak. Whatever God gives us, whatever he provides for us, we're going to give that back to the ladies in the best way we possibly can. And it goes back to the very beginning, our philosophy, and it's carried on. And if it changes, then it's time to stop doing spark. But God gave his best to us. So we are called to give our best to serve others and his children and one another. And we will always do that. At least as far as this exec team says.
No, I was going to piggyback off of that and say I've had the privilege to go out to this actual warehouse. I never went to your little storage unit, so I can't speak to that. But this God has blessed y'all so much, not only with the building, but with the minds and the spiritual gifts to all come together, that each of you and your team that comes for packing day or whatever it, counting how many red balloons y'all have, or how many blue Skittles, or, you know, everything from the hamburger meat down to everything. Y'all do everything in excellence. And not to discredit the Bible study unit, that part, Kristen, you mentioned the small group in the Bible study and how it flows from what Molly's speaking, the message that God has given Molly while she's up on stage, and then we go and we follow it up. I've also had the privilege, Laura's had the privilege to be a small group leader, and we don't take that lightly. And we know just how much excellence that took to get there, and how much we do. One of you mentioned the vulnerability, how much we need to be real, and how much we need to be in prayer prior to all of that. You mentioned the prayer team. I mean, every bit of Spark, there is so much that is done in excellence. And I've always been thrilled to serve with you guys.
Well,
So go ahead.
There's purpose from start to finish. Nothing that we do, we're not doing it just to do it. The gifts have a meaning behind it. The food, even that we do buffets, so that the ladies who usually don't have a choice in what they get to eat every evening, guess what? They get to choose what they get to have on their plate. From pampering is a time of just allowing them to let down walls and really trust a safe touch. And so many of these women don't know what that is. To just, again, that prayer and that prayer blanket at the end where they are just wrapped. And it's amazing how God works through that blanket and the prayers of our women, that just being able to pray over them. And that can be out loud or it can be silently, but it's just a power of healing. And so everything has purpose and everything. And I believe our God is not a God of chaos. And so he just leads and guides us in that.
Well, and one of the things I love, and what I've noticed first is the t-shirts, the fact that we all wear the same. And that's such a small little thing. But I can remember when we came back from Atlanta in 2013 and we did our little video and we had pictures, and I had one of the ladies come up and say, well, that's so great that you served. She had a picture in her hand and she said that y'all served these ladies. And I'm like, well, technically 3 of those ladies are Spark ladies. I mean, you know, like, how do you know who's who in that picture? You know, so it was kind of like, and she went, oh, and I said, that's the whole point, you know, that it's not a us and them, it's a us, it's a unified team, and then they feel that too, and that's that. I mean, those little details just make such a difference. So, but I think, you know, one of the questions on here, and I don't know, I think it's kind of, I don't know, I don't really like, but it says like, how's a partnership benefited each of us?
Oh,
And obviously with us, I think it has changed the lives of our women. I mean,
absolutely.
no, I can only think of a handful that have not gone back on a second trip. And usually that's because of the stage of life they're in, or, you know, whatever, not because they didn't want to. And so just the fact it's changed how we approach our women's ministry. Like I
Yeah.
said, we were sitting at that barn on the Atlanta trip, and Ellen Jeffers said, why can't our ladies retreat be like this? And I'm like, why not? And so the very next, I mean, like we've done all the like retreats based on the kind of how Spark lays out their weekend. And so I think the benefit to our women to get out of their comfort zone and to give them a chance, because like I'm one of those people that I don't go to Brazil or Korea or wherever. You know, I like staying in country, and it gives the women a chance to serve on such a bigger scale, and to use their gifts and talents, and to see the change that can be made outside of just what we do. And we have a lot of service opportunities in our community, but it just shows how you can adapt those. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits that our women have got, is just to broaden their horizons on what can be done and how they can serve.
Thank you.
So,
Y'all have been a true inspiration to Spark, because I don't know, it's well over 170 something different churches, if not more, represented in our volunteers that have served with us over the last 14. But First Fayetteville has been one of the primo churches that has blessed us, that has come alongside us, not just to provide amazing volunteers, which your ladies are incredible. We've fallen in love with each and every one of them. And just because of the hearts that they have and their desire just for what we've been talking about, being real and serving and loving unconditionally, but that your church as a whole has chosen to share resources with us and to share your buses and your drivers. And we don't take that lightly at all. That doesn't happen every day. And we wish it would, but you guys have stepped out and really blessed us in that partnership of when we're anywhere on the east side of the country. I mean, you've stepped up and said, hey, can we provide the buses and the drivers? And wow, that's been a true blessing to allow us to serve as many times as we've been able to, and to bring as many ladies along because of what that does for us.
I will add, I want to thank you, just personally. Not only do y'all show up and y'all greet us with huge hugs and smiles and the Georgia peaches and all the above, but just y'all have taken the carnival. I mean, our last trip, Fayetteville took the carnival that we give to the kids on Thursday night, and through the whole thing, and from afar, like y'all brought all the supplies. And of course there was lots of communication and emails and all the above, right? But y'all were willing to do that. And so Fayetteville has had such a sweet spirit for us in just saying, it doesn't matter that we're so many miles away. How can we help and truly be a part of the Spark Weekend? And y'all dove in. So
well, and I think it's the credit to the ladies. And, you know, I just always think about the fact that God places us in all these places, you know, and I found my paperwork the other day from the Sparket Market.
Oh, way back.
That's way back.
Parkway Hills. Yeah, that was a while back, you know, raising money, people renting the booths, and first try out Roros and stuff like that. So, I mean, and just the fact that then, because I can remember trying to pitch it to Mickie wasn't here for that first trip, but going, I can't really explain this to you, but we're going to use our buses and go up to this mission, and we're going to, you know, and the fact that they trailed along, and then it's like, okay, we're in. So yeah, the ladies here are, they put me to shame in their work ethic. I always feel like we get there and I'm like, okay, I got to step it up.
Y'all make it easy. Y'all do. Y'all make it so easy. Y'all have that opportunity for us to just use our talents that God has gifted us.
And I think that's one of the big things about it.
And that's one of the things that Patty Girl here sets up so well when she prepares plans, puts our team leaders in place. The goal is we want our volunteers to not have to fret about what to do or how to do it or where to be or whatever. we want to make it easy. We want to take care of them on the trips. That's why we will always make sure they have a good place to sleep and rest and good food. Talked about, it goes back to what you said a minute ago. We've got to pour into them physically, emotionally, so that they can pour out to these ladies. And stress is not going to help them pour out to these ladies. So the goal is to make it as easy as possible to come be a part of the Spark team. And I think our leadership so much for making that available to all of our volunteers.
I think one of the things that's really special about Spark is, we've talked about the sisterhood and the friendships, that literally any personality, any age can find a place. That I think the partnership, whether it's with Fayetteville First or any of our other churches and sisters, is they come along with whatever gifts and talents God's given them, and they become a gift to Spark Ministry and to the women that we serve. And so I love just watching how, whether it's someone who's extremely extroverted and energetic, or someone who's a little bit quieter and more reserved, that the Lord just uses. And there's these divine appointments that happen on every trip, where someone gets placed on the right team or the right small group, and they find their place and their purpose for a gift that often they didn't even know was a gift, and yet there's a need for it, and they're able to use it and be a blessing.
So thank you, Fayetteville, for providing so many amazing volunteers, support financially, buses. The list just goes on and on. So thank you.
And you're really fun people too.
You are fun.
Yeah.
The Georgia Peaches.
Hey. Well, we do always say, we said from that first trip that we have a lot of chiefs. We have a lot of chiefs in our group. So, and every meeting, pre-trip meeting, we always say, you got to leave your chiefness in Atlanta and go and just serve. Like, we're not in charge.
It's a well-oiled machine, and that's what we have to continue saying,
And it's been such, the stories we've got to tell, y'all know something, Pat, I noticed the other day that on one of the, I can't remember what it was, one of the pictures on our site, there's a picture of Miss Linda Lambeth and Lucy Mayer, and they're doing, it was when I think we were in Phoenix, and they're doing the dancing out. And I'm like, hey, when somebody goes, well, I just don't know. I'm like, if Linda Lambeth can get out there and dance and do the chainsaw, you can serve a Spark trip.
Yes.
So tell us, so we have the trips, but I know because of the past year and COVID, y'all have expanded. So everybody is anxious to hear. Tell us about the expansion, about the Spark and Kindness. I'm just totally butcher that. So tell me.
Partners in Kindness. Partners in Kindness is the new division.
And for some reason I had Spark in my head. Okay, I should have gone on my first instinct. So tell us about Partners in Kindness.
Yes. Well, I'm definitely going to turn this one over to Patricia, because this was her baby, her vision that God gave her, and just the way it happened is really cool. But I also want to let everybody know that Kristen McCaslin, we've had some new, when you talk about new things happening in Spark, Kristen was our very first hire this year. She came on as our new executive director, and we are so happy, as February 1st of 2021. And she is our new executive director. And it was just the whole thing, that how it happened was just God ordained in every possible way. And Patty and I, as both, two others of this executive team, could not be happier. She was the absolute person to take this role and to lead Spark down the road, and allow the two of us to continue to serve and use our gifts and continue to work out our purpose in this ministry in a way that we were just getting overwhelmed with. So that's been a huge change. In 14 years, this is our first paid employee. So we're excited about that, and that God's
and newly married employee.
And newly married. Yeah. We've got a newlywed at the table right now. So so in doing that, you've called us the executive team, but in doing that, the two of us assumed the roles of executive creative directors. And again, it's that we can continue to lead and serve in the ministry and use our gifts and purposes in the best way possible. And one of the ways that that has already manifested itself, and we go back to even before Kristen came on board, was that this vision God gave of Partners in Kindness. And so why don't you share with them what Partners in Kindness is all about?
I would love to. I'm so excited, and I'm so thankful to God for really handing this to us without knowing what was coming next. And in January 2020, our board met and really said, we feel like we can do something more. We feel like we can do to give back. And so Partners in Kindness was created, and it was created back in 2020. And if we realized that was pandemic hit March 2020, and who knew that he was preparing our hearts and our minds that, hey, I've got something in store for you. And guess what? I'm going to give you time to get it going. And so that has been a huge blessing over the last year and a half. We have reached almost 1,000 women with what we call Party in a Box. And because we couldn't go into the missions, we sent a party to them. And when we talked to the directors of how can we help you during this pandemic, they said, just send us stuff, just send us anything. And so we put together a movie night and sent the movie and the red carpet and the pizza and the sodas and all of everything to put together for them to enjoy what we take for granted. And the pictures were amazing, from the photo drops to the popcorn to all that was involved in what we call Party in a Box. Again, we reached almost 1,000 women, and in October, we'll send another one called Groovy Game Night. And that is another thing that will launch from the warehouse. This will be something that will continue even once we start our missions again. It's a way for us to reach every mission, hopefully twice a year, because usually with our Spark mission trips, we can reach 3 to 4. So this way, Spark is able to just send love and kindness to them in a different way. So that's part of Partners in Kindness. Also, just locally here in our backyard, y'all know that we had the big freeze here in Texas and lost energy. Immediately, our board of directors was like, we have blankets in the warehouse and we don't know when we'll use them next. So over 100 prayer blankets went out to different ministries and 501c3s and missions here in Dallas that we had not served before, but we knew that there was a need. And then we have Spark It Forward, and that is where we are coming in and just helping with other 501c3s to just give what we have. We have an incredible volunteer base, and we have some great resources. And so we're just using that to give to others. So this is a part of the ministry that is being launched during this pandemic, but it's not going away once the pandemic's over.
Yay, I think
cool.
that's great. It's
Yes.
great. So with that, go ahead.
I was going to say, Kristen has some stats in her head about this to put it all in perspective of just how far-reaching Partners in Kindness can be in partnership with the mission trips. But do you remember just off the top of your head a little bit about that?
Well, I think what's exciting about Partners in Kindness is if you look at the first 13 years of the life of Spark Ministry, we served about 3,000 women in 14, 16 different missions across the US. In 2021 alone, because of Party in a Box, because of Spark It Forward, all of those things, we've served nearly 1,000 women just this year, and we expect to serve another 900 this fall. And so, yes, it's different than being able to serve them with a whole weekend, but it is still a touch of kindness. It is still a, hey, God loves you. We see you. You are known. You matter. And so what I'm excited about is, like Patricia said, is this doesn't go away. And so once we're able to start traveling again, we continue to serve in the ways that we have in the past, but we also have this whole new way to mobilize our volunteers and to continue to have that reach nationwide year after year into the missions that we've been developing relationship with. So it's really exciting to me.
And just in case anybody was wondering, we don't do week in Partners in Kindness either. everything. The Spark stamp on it of we're going to give our very best to it.
Very
Mhm.
cool.
Yes. Something like that?
Yeah.
Well, let
Um,
me ask this real quick. So we can't go on a trip with you. How can we help you right now?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Great
Can our
question.
ladies, like, I want to go on a trip, but obviously we're not going on trips. How do we help you right now? And that's different from that.
Good question.
Yeah. So the first thing would be with Party in a Box. I think some of your ladies gathered around our Spark birthday back in June and had a little birthday party and know that we were collecting money at the time. It takes $25 a lady to sponsor a Party in a Box. And it is a party, but it's also a message of hope and kindness. And with this next round, we're actually sending a video that will come with a video message, testimony, and that kind of stuff. And so we're expanding the strength of that. And so when you give right now to Spark, you're actually giving to help us continue that reach, like I said, through Party in a Box. The other thing that I love about Partners in Kindness is there is opportunity to continue to expand, to serve where you are, to mobilize the volunteers, that uniqueness of heart and spirit that's knit together when you become a Spark sister, when you serve and develop that love that God has for women in need, and gets, you get to experience that yourself, and you begin looking and seeing the needs around you. And so I think there is plenty of opportunity moving forward to continue serving and giving in those ways.
So for instance, one of the things we do with Spark It Forward is we've had 2 blood drives in our office. We have this great space and facility, and blood has been a big, huge need over the course of this pandemic. So, we've used our facility in a new way to do a blood drive. Y'all could do something like that. You could find an area where you could provide a lunch for staff or whatever that we've done for those that have been in the trenches during this pandemic. There's a variety of ways that you could reach out in the name of Partners in Kindness through Spark Ministry that we'd be happy to tell you about, so that you could ramp up your ladies in the time where we can't go into the missions. But
Our
Right
WMU is excited because they can finally they serve the first responders twice a year, and they didn't get to do it last year because of the food. So they were very excited that I'm going to a meeting Sunday, in fact, with them to figure out when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it with this new surge. But they're planning on doing it because it's so important.
Well, and thank you for inviting us to do this, because once we are able to get back on the road, and we are going to need a volunteer base to be excited and ready to go. And it's been a long time. It'll probably be almost 2 years before, or more. That we will have been able to serve together. So stay excited, stay ready, because it will be there again.
2 years from our last trip to our next one, not another 2 years.
No, not another 2 years.
I will be crying.
You must have seen
We are
my
very
face.
hopeful. We are very hopeful that there will be a trip in spring of 2022.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
So
last trip you
So
guys
to
were with
tag
us
onto
in
that-
Orlando.
Yeah, so to tag on to the end, you heard the people who are watching this, you heard what they said about you can give on even just $25, which you can go to the website, sparkministry.org, and you can do the donation from there. And when they, and if you are whatever, if you're on Facebook scrolling, at some point when they have them, you'll see usually all of us end up forwarding on social media any posts they have about specific opportunities to give, so be watching for those. But at any point, we're going to see a big uptick in giving from Fayetteville First Baptist Church after everybody watches this video in September. The Spark Ministry, yay! So
Anything
On
like
a-
that, one of the beautiful things about nonprofits is how they get to serve and change lives, and we hope that's always a spark. One of the hard things is the reality is it takes money to do that. It takes hands and hearts and prayer, but it takes funds and it takes resources. And even when we can't go out on the road, we still have a budget. We have bills to pay. We have an office. We have an employee. We have 900 ladies we want to give to Party in a Box this fall. So we want people to realize that we need you. We've always needed you, and we need you. And I'm never shy. None of us are shy about asking people to give and give generously to Spark Ministry, because it doesn't go into our pockets at all. It's for these beautiful women and kids that we serve. And we know that their gifts are not just about having a great time or giving somebody a fun time, but it changes hearts and lives for generations. And that's how God takes it and uses all of us together, all of us. And so help us out so that we can keep moving forward and all of that.
Yes.
Well, y'all are on, because I know every time I use PayPal, I have donate your whatever to Spark Ministry, add your dollar or whatever. You can do things like little things like that too, all along that.
If you shop on Amazon, yeah, Amazon Prime, that's on there. Just choose
And donate
Spark
your
Ministry.
birthday on Facebook.
That's right. Have a Facebook fundraiser for yourself or somebody, a friend. You know, I'm going to honor my friend by trying to raise X amount of dollars for Spark Ministry for celebrating her birthday or whatever. There's a lot of little ways. We have North Texas Giving Day in September, and it's called North Texas Giving Day, but anybody across the globe can give, even in Fayetteville, Georgia.
Yes.
It's a
Across the
great
world.
day.
Yeah,
That's across the world from Dallas. That's what I feel like.
Great day of giving. And as Kristen said, we'll be concentrating on Party in a Box to make sure we've got all that covered for these ladies this fall. So there's a lot of fun.
Jokingly saying, yeah, no, thank you for that. Jokingly saying across the world, when we were at the birthday celebration with the loyal girls from Fayetteville that's been on Spark trips, Laura had mentioned that we were going to do this with you girls, and they all were like, "Are y'all going out there?" And we said,
Oh, we get on a plane and go on. We're like, oh, we should.
"We should, we should."
Yes.
Yeah. And then, yeah, well, no, we do. We love you girls. Thank y'all for being, really in my mind, thank y'all for being the head and the heart of this project so that we can be the hands and feet. And that's what we're called to be, the body of Christ. And so y'all give us that opportunity. But me being a big prayer warrior, I just want to put out there, how can we be praying for you gals for this upcoming, the end of this year and then the spring of the next year? What are some of the prayer requests that we could lift up?
I think,
You wanna go first?
yeah, we were talking about this earlier. You know, we just talked about provision, just, you know, praying that the Lord would provide. But the other one that is constantly on my mind is just for wisdom about how to proceed. That as we expand Partners in Kindness, as we begin to look toward traveling, just the wisdom to know when and how and where and all of those things. And I'm so grateful, you know, James chapter 1 talks about if you lack wisdom, ask because God will give generously. And so I'm never shy to say, Lord, give us wisdom. And I believe that he will, but I also would invite anybody who's praying for us to pray that he would lead us. And he's been faithful to do that in the past. And we know that he will be faithful to do that moving forward.
Just pray. I pray for the three of us as a team and for our board and our auxiliary board as leaders of the ministry, just to pray for health for our family, pray for just strength and balancing everything that goes on with running a nonprofit, and that we're all volunteers except for Kristen, but she's a volunteer many years before she came on. But just that balance, that's a personal request, just in life and the changing world we're in and different things. And then just on a side note, with the wisdom that Kristen asked for, is God, show us when we get to go on another trip, because it's not going to be just a trip. It's going to be our 50th trip, our 50th Spark Ministry trip, and we cannot wait. But you know what? His timing is perfect. And we're praying that it might be in the spring of 2022. But if it's not, we know that it'll be the perfect time and the perfect place in the perfect way. So I guess for me, just for the three of us and our team, is just continued protection and strength and health and just the ability to keep going, keep
Yeah.
on keeping on.
And for me, I think when you ask that, I immediately think us pray for Spark Ministry, but for the women that we serve,
Mhm.
the women that are in the missions, and we've
Yes.
all been through it, but they've been through it too, and just our hearts and our thoughts are continually with them, and just as these Party in a Box or these local ongoing love or Spark It Forward meets these people that are in this need, just that they don't see us, but they see God, and they see who he created them to be and how special they are. So please, please, please always keep them in your prayers.
Absolutely.
Well, we don't want it to end, but
I know.
we have to end.
We should have food or
I know.
something, a food or crap.
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
Anybody want your hands massaged?
I know. Well, we want to encourage anybody who watches the video once it's posted, as long as I'm doing everything right. Does say it's recording. To ask, watch the video, go to sparkministry.org and ask one of us. I'm sure no matter what class you're in, if you're a part of a women's Bible study, or if you're a part of whatever, somebody in that class has been on a Spark trip. And so if this interests you at all, please reach out and contact one of us so we can get you involved, because this ministry has changed our lives personally, and it's changed all the lives that the women who've gone on these trips, and they would be happy to share it with you without a doubt. So get involved. Again, I'm gonna say it again, sparkministry.org, only $25 will get one lady served in a mission from a box. So I could be like what's that?
That's person.
Yeah, like a person on TV. Hey, just you get so but do that and ask. And if you are a man and you're watching this, which I hope there are some, you can always talk to one of our spark plugs, Larry Newsome or Wayne Ford or Chris or Jimmy Adams. They have driven the bus, and I saw Larry last week, and he was asking me again. So what's happening? What's happening with Spark? He always asks me. So those guys could tell you probably in better man terminology what they see on these trips, because they know why we go, and they believe in it as well. So men, you can do it too. Just drive the bus. So okay. Well, anything else? Anything else you can think of?
All right. Do we need
Thank
to
you
close
so
with our version of Georgia? Georgia, Georgia. We love you guys. Y'all are very
We
sweet.
love you
girls,
too.
so
And thank
much.
you so much for doing this with us. We enjoyed seeing y'all, and we love y'all, and we're praying for you. And we can't wait to see you soon.
Yeah.
So, all right. Give everybody a big hug.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.